Got it. Mm-hmm. Good. Hi.
And today it's my pleasure to interview Hongshuo Fan, composer from China. Hi.
Hi. Nice to meet you. And it's also been my honor to answering some question. Maybe. Yeah. Hope I can answer that. Yeah.
Maybe you can very shortly introduce yourself, right?
Okay. Hi. My name is Hongshuo Fan and come from China. I'm a composer and also a researcher for electronic acoustic composition. My main work focus on intersection of physical and digital creativity, and try to design some immersive experience with the fusion of traditional culture and cutting-edge technology. Most of my work focus on live interaction between human and computer. For example, like mix with human instrument musician with computer reaction, and also I also compose some piece for so-called data driving instrument. So using sensor as an instrument to perform on stage real time composition. Yeah, that's basically what I'm doing.
Thank you, Hongshuo. In your opinion, what is good musical composition for you?
For me, I always try to see a piece from two angles. One, emotionally, it's somehow engage me, and musically, and sound, and not the visual part and performing, etc. And rationally, I think that's because I'm also a composer. I like to analyze some structure, technology behind the composition, and texture of the sound, and how those technology performing and the sound image, how they integrate. And so that's basically two type of angle I'm using to say a good music composition. Yeah.
Good. And what is your musical ideas or signature, which you trying most frequently to develop in your music?
For most of my music, I would say I try to find some, like I mentioned, intersection between the cutting edge technology and not but traditional culture, because my background somehow from really classical music. I learned piano from when I was a child, so really long time, and later on become a composer, and also somehow kind of developer for music technology stuff. So I try to merge those together for most of my composition. Yeah, that's basically.
And when you speak about traditional culture, you mean traditional music of Chinese, right? Chinese culture, or are you more about West?
I think that's both, because to be honest, I know piano is West instrument, right? So yes, for a long time, yeah, Western instrument. But I grew up in China, and I'm somehow say myself a Chinese composer. So I know Chinese music, and got a lot of influence of traditional music and traditional culture. So from both sides. So yeah.
Yes. And if you would, let's say, if you would be a female, would your music would be different? Do you think?
Yeah, I think so, because I never really think about that, but I feel like somehow if you are female or you see things differently, and you have different way of thinking. That's totally will like, how to say, reflect what you are create in your creation. So means your music. And for a really simple idea, example, sometimes I create music and I have some idea in my mind, and I talk to my wife. She sometimes not really understanding, but she will tell how she feeling about this kind of music. And nowadays I'm also working with some visual elements in my composition. So I feel the female have more, how to say, sensitivity, like they more understand the color than me. So I lot of time when I develop some visual, and I will ask her, my wife or my colleague, female mostly, how do you think this color is good, or can you give me some advice for the color? Because I'm thinking about those, her or she, and more like sensitivity for the color. Yeah.
And do you consider yourself as multimedia music composer?
Yes, I think so, because I'm trying to like merge different kind of medium, not sound, and also with like visual, like I mentioned, and also sometimes with light, and I think somehow gesture is also kind of medium on stage. So, and definitely I think I'm self a multimedia. Yeah.
And what is your way of composing? How you start and stages you go through usually?
Yes, for usually I mostly have some like concept or idea in my mind, and I will try to like create some imaginary sound scenario, I would say. So for example, like I will, for most of my piece, I will try to find the destination or some middle part of this piece, and focus on how I want to this moment to be and how this moment should be, and how to progress to the next moment. And so I have my destination or some middle point, and then I will think about the structure of this piece and try to connect those individual moment and scenario, and that should form our like overall piece, I would say. Yeah.
And
okay, go ahead.
And how how technologies, right, change your music last 10 years?
Oh yeah, that's really changed a lot. And when I was start to compose, especially using computer and technology, I think it's mostly the technology driving me to like compose something. For example, I learned some new technology. I think, yeah, that's maybe a good idea to use that to like doing some composition. And maybe this technology can realize some of my idea. But especially I like study in here UK Manchester like 4 years and learn more technology stuff, and also becoming somehow like a music technology developer. So it's a little bit shift, and the starting point for me is starting from idea or concept more, I would say. So I have some idea or concept, and I try to develop some kind of technology or try to do some research and find a type of technology maybe can use for that, and use this concept to guide me, to drive me to use some kind of technology. Yeah.
And do you code on your own as well? Are you a programmer or?
Yes. And I always make some joke. I'm in the programmer world, I'm the composer, but in the composer world, I'm the programmer. Yeah.
And what is like three most important technologies or technological artifacts for you as a composer?
I think for you mean nowadays, right? Yeah.
Yes, it's for you now.
I think nowadays it's quite for me. We have lots of new technology, and it's really you have to decide which direction you want to use them. And like I mentioned, I used to like driving by technology. So I learned something and I try to use this mostly in one piece, but that's also you are limited by this technology. Nowadays, I think I try to like think outside of the box, and so got the idea first, then using my idea to guide the development of the technology.
But what kind of software you usually use, or maybe do you have some hardware which you like to use most frequent? Like sensors or VR headsets or I don't know some.
Yes, my starting point is Max, of course, Max MSP, and later on I use G-Turtle for the visual part, and for the visual part, and now I'm mostly using like Touch Designer, but to be honest, my recent piece I developed some kind of an application for myself using Python and C++. So from like using other software and try to develop my own, yeah.
And why you start using visual language as well? Why you added visual elements to your? What triggered you, right?
Oh. That's very good. And I think first is I found I want to something, how to say, it's really difficult for. Okay, first of all, I think visual is really interesting on the stage, of course. And I feel, of course, the visual can provide more information than sound. That's definitely so. And most of, I think, time, the sounds can be abstract than visual. So I think for me, the visual is more like the help to a way of help to explain my sound word, I would say. So when I compose, I mostly focus on the sound first and try to use the visual as a way to explain what's happened in my sound word. So sound is visual part is more like reflecting. So I would say I try to use visual to reflecting my sound. So that's why I use visual.
And what is the difference to your mind between composing multimedia composition, right? But still music, right? Basically, and sound only.
What's the difference? To be honest, I don't think this should be any different. Because visual, like I mentioned, should be add on top of the sound. So, for me at least, as a composer, I'm more focused on the sound first. The visual part sometimes have to, I would say, compromise with the sound development. So, for example, like I have a dramatic sound change here, so visual somehow have to reflect to that. and not vice versa. And so I think that's a different angle to see the same media. From visual artists, they more focus on the visual, so the sound should be compromised with the visual part. But for our composer, mostly sound composer, and sound should be the main target. And then if you want to use visual to, like I mentioned, a way to communicate with your audience as a add-on, and so that should be, yeah. So I think that's the different, yeah.
And how your music changed in the last 10 years?
I probably mentioned, yeah. So I start with like fixed media, fixed sound, and like pure acoustic matic composition, but later on, like I'm moving on to mixed music, like instrument with electronic, and now they're more like I try to balance myself, and one with me still compose piece for instrument, especially traditional instrument with electronic, and also compose some piece for using sensor as an instrument, data driving instrument to, and so I think that's the transition I have. Yeah.
Got it. And now a question from Simon Steen Anderson.
Mm-hmm.
I asked this question to every interviewer.
Mm-hmm.
What is your what you as a composer fears the most?
I think for most of, in general, for as I know, also including me, repeating selves or others, that maybe most of you hear about. So yeah, because composers try to, like, I want to compose a new piece. I want to compose something people never ever seen or hear before. So if you found yourself compose a piece but just repeating yourself or repeating others, that's
yes,
maybe most of it about, yeah.
And now a question from Francois Charan.
Mm-hmm.
Why do you still compose?
Yeah, that's really that's a really difficult question. Why? I think first of all, I like it, and really love to, like, using, especially to, like, somehow use a way to, like, realizing my imagination, I say. Mm-hmm. So I have some song or some, like, image in my mind. I try to use some way to, like, make that real, and so I have some passion to that, and also I also got some sense of achievement after composition. What else? So also I found out myself, like, it's not like just us how to say, a spark in your mind, but a passion for long term of development of this kind of, you can say, career or skill, no, whatever. But anyway, I think I just love it, and just want to, like, continue this work as much as I can.
Got it. And looking back, right, during this century, right, how new music or contemporary music scene in China changed?
In China, okay. First I would say, admire, like, we're starting a little bit late than with, that's the fact. And but I also would say it's developing very fast. And I saw more and more people involved this new type of art, and they got a really brilliant idea to like anywhere else. And because we also have like really good and rich traditional culture, and so it's become more like I really love to see people to developing some kind of composition or some artwork involve like our traditional culture with this new new technology. And even this kind of new some new technology also be driving by this kind of traditional culture.
Yes.
For example, like you know, like in China, probably know that in Chinese we have like ink painting and really long painting. This kind of painting style right now is also shift some kind of give like a lot of a composer idea, because it's a really long structure and long form of painting. So you can it's different from Western painting, obviously. Yeah, you only see one image, the whole image at a time. But in Chinese painting, like you see one frame at a time. So you also in the painting you have the time domain, because you are moving and you have to change your focus with your moving. So this kind of idea, traditional thinking of the artwork, and also at least help me to like developing composition, and help also shift, I think, shift a lot of people idea of using new technology to developing artwork.
Mm-hmm. And are some kind of programs for composers who would like to learn new music composition? Are there some educational programs at, I don't know, universities, or
you mean in China, right?
China.
Yeah, we have like mostly I'm used to I starting my music study really young, like I mentioned, when I was trying piano and undergraduates in, and the master at Sichuan Conservatory of Music. So in our conservatory, we have a brand new department focused on electronic music. So basically music with technology. And also in China, and such as Shanghai Conservatory and Central Conservatory, they all have like department focused on they call music technology and music what are they? I think Central Conservatory, they have a new department called artificial intelligence and music information retrieval stuff. So lots of conservatory have the like program, or have their degree about music and technology and new music. And also some university now they focus on like developing technology, not only for like industrial or other field, but for the music, because it's also become more and more popular. Yeah.
Yes, yes. And what kind of technologies are working Chinese, let's say Chinese new composers? It's VR, artificial intelligence, and what sensors? What is particularly interesting technologies which are developed there in China regarding?
One I know from some big company, you probably heard the TikTok, and from Baidu, they have their own like machine learning framework. So they're also developing something like music generative and timbre transform algorithm for music creation, and also they make it's. I think that's big company also help to make those technology available for like everyone, so everyone can try those technology. You only, for example, you can just recording something with your phone, and you can send to use the application to like transform your sound to another thing. That's kind of like game stuff, and or just small tool really help people to like engagement with this kind of new technology development, and also raise some publicly interesting, I would say, yeah.
And when we speak about Chinese new music, right? So we speak about Chinese traditional music with technologies, or we speaking as well as about traditional West ideas, right? Of West avant-garde music ideas. What is this? What is the notion of new music in China?
I think that's this really broad concept of new music, and for me, I think mostly with talking about new music. So what's included in new music is like except the traditional or classical Chinese or West, whatever, and music should be like in new music. Like for example, like traditional songwriting and instrument performing, whatever West or Chinese or East. So except that should be all including in new music. So not totally. It's kind of different. I have the feeling like it's different from what's Western people think about new and old, because to us at least Western music somehow is kind of new, right? For me at least, and so I think in general in China, like as I know, from like how to say, except the traditional instrument play, performing, and the instrument composition, orchestration, and that should be like including in classical or traditional music, and except that should be all including in new music. Even somehow you can say like 1819s Western electronic music, that should be also thinking about maybe a new music for us, yeah.
And yeah, an audience, right, of this music in China in this century, are they decreasing, becoming younger, increasing? How's this audience of new music in China changing now?
Yeah, it's changed a lot, to be honest. And I think, first of all, more people start to like accept that's also kind of music, because first of all, people don't understand. They think of this is a music, or there's a like serious music composition. But nowadays, I think more and more people, no matter, of course, young generation are more acceptable for this kind of new music, but also from like I'm born in 19, so some people older than me starting to accept this is kind of new music, and also more and more people think about this kind of multimedia should be somehow art form for like new arts, not necessarily be like commercial use, yeah.
Got it. And what are the trends, right, in Chinese new music? And what are the biggest trends, right? And where this music are going now?
I think if you mean like the training for using using technology for music creation, you mean?
Music in general, right? You said one thing, it's mixing between technology and music, right? But what other trends? Maybe there are some other trends. What you notice?
I think that's like you say, like technology is one trend, and using more, and especially artificial intelligence and machine learning for music creation. And another thing is more musician and composers started to collaborate with different area of people. For example, like using sonification for like data sonification stuff, and it's become more and more. Because when I was undergraduate, I never heard about people using like data sonification. And nowadays, I saw a lot of people using the data as a source to like create music, and also people working with like soundscape and start to emerge. And yeah, that's basically I know. And I think most strong training is like using artificial intelligence and developing and research around this concept.
Got it. And what is the role of new music in Chinese society?
Sorry?
What is the role of new music in Chinese society?
Yeah, the role, I think first of all, if you use like new technology for art creation, it's definitely raise the public engagement, and also is a way to like help people to understand those kinds of technology. For example, like people, of course, most of people never not really understand what machine learning about, and they're afraid of the artificial intelligence AI take over the world. Always people talking about that, but somehow you say they say they use the new technology like AI and machine learning to create music. They feel like, oh, okay, that's acceptable, and also this also vice versa to help the development to understand what's the direction for the development should be. Like we have like people love to artificial, of course people start to use artificial intelligence, but found that's just not really usable as a couple of years before. But nowadays more and more people start using, because the development also say this needs should be like they say the problem, what is the problem, and they try to solve it. So that's technology become more and more available for like everyone. So yeah, so I think that's new music should be like an intermediate to help first of all raise the public engagement, also help the development to find the direction for the development. Yeah.
Got it. And last question, what would be your suggestion to those, let's say, Chinese young students who just only began to compose, right? What would be your suggestion?
Have to be patient. Yeah, that's for every composer should be, not whatever you are Chinese always. That's always I talk about. You have to like take some time to develop your idea. That's it's not like you never found the technology, to be honest. Like the red button you just pressed it give you a nice work. No, that's never possible. And I think that's you should be patient, not only for developing your idea, but also to understand the technology. Because like a lot of people think about using technology, but not really understand it. Just be limited by the technology. And so if you want to like doing the new music composition, especially using like the somehow state-of-art technology stuff, so need to take some time to understand the technology and using your understanding of that to also help you to develop your music idea. So yeah, that's it, I think. Yeah.
So Hongshuo, thank you very much for this interview.
Thank you so much.